morning, good afternoon, good evening. This is an enduring picture. It encapsulates what we are, Zimbabweans as a people. This is the face of Morgan Tsvangirai, the late Morgan Tsvangirai, with his face swollen after being beaten by ZANU-PF. Before independence, blacks were brutalized by the white colonialists. The war of independence was fought to end the oppression so that blacks can finally live in dignity. Unfortunately, that was not to be so. After independence, blacks turned on blacks. And the brutality has continued. Of course, every Zimbabwean should be ashamed that things like that happened in independent Zimbabwe, and should be outraged that any black Zimbabwean would treat another fellow Zimbabwean like that. Yet that this is the reality. And for 45 years after independence, this is the reality that is happening even to this day. Our failure to seriously address this fundamental weakness, this fundamental problem, where a fellow human being can treat another with such brutality and does not even show shame what they've done, remorse, is totally unacceptable. Indeed, we have a reputation of doing these things and letting those responsible for them, rewarding them with positions of power and authority. Here is Emmerson Mnangagwa boasting about his role in the 2008 electoral fraud.
2008 patakaita ma-elections pakaposa papinda Tsvangirai ndandiri election agent ya president. Ma-results abuda tiri party headquarters vamutasa vanga vari secretary vedu ve-administration vamutasa muripi ndafona ndiri kwarusapi komogwenda kwarusapi seka ma-results achibuda kudai vanga aiwa zvako izvo Mnangagwa ndezvako endaenda kumusha ofisi vanga vabisa zvinhu zvavo zvose watofunga kuti zani yadini yaparara. President ofona zvakamira sei kati atomamira zvakaita takatodini kateda sei manje mama ndikati abvudzai baba nditaurira baba gadzirai politburo cabinet musarangarira zvimwe zvipi gadzirai chi cabinet asi nangoda kuti muzive kuti 2008 ma-results abuda vamutasa vakatiza.
As a country we face a generational transition. Vana vese vari kuma below 35, they are crying out for help. The country is in a mess. Harusi rufaro We know we are inheriting a mess. We know this country has been left with nothing.
I'm assuring you that starting from tomorrow, you'll see a different nation from what you have seen or read on the news about these results and everything. Where we are going ahead there, the situation will be very different. What we said to our people, they could not see with their own eyes. We're going to act as we see it fit. We're prepared to go the whole distance.
One of the gentlemen we saw in that video clip boasting about how the situation was going to be different was Tsvangirai. This in the paper today, complaining to some of his NOPF about something or other. If the truth be told, here is somebody who became notorious for the sheer barbarism of 2008. He was one of the leaders of the war veterans who carried out some of the barbarism that was inflicted on the nation. And yet, yes, continue to live scot-free, as if there's nothing wrong. Mnangagwa himself, who was responsible for the blatant cheating in those 2008 elections, and was the man who organized and carried out the Operation Mavotera Papi, has gone on to hold the highest office in the land, step president. What a crying shame. The other issue that cannot be denied here is that Morgan Tsvangirai and his MDC friends had the golden opportunity to implement the democratic reforms to make sure that the barbarism that we saw in 2008 would never be repeated ever again. Alas, Morgan Tsvangirai and company failed to implement even one token reform in those 5 years when they had the golden opportunity to do so. What is even more outrageous is that the MDC leaders and their supporters, even now with the benefit of hindsight, they are refusing to accept that they missed the opportunity. They wasted the opportunity. They failed to implement even one token reform because Robert Mugabe bribed them with the tokens of high office, and they forgot about the reforms. and hence the reason why Zimbabwe remains a failed state, susceptible to the same chaos and barbarism that we have suffered these last 45 years. Like it or not, Zimbabwe is not going to get out of this mess without addressing this fundamental problem of rigged elections and bad governance. The people of Zimbabwe have risked all to elect Tsvangirai and his friends, the MDC and Triple C, with the specific task that when they get into power, they will implement the democratic reforms to end the blatant human rights abuses, including the denial to have a meaningful say in the governance of the country. When they got into power, they forgot about those reforms. As they say in Shona, takatuma mapete kumukaka. We have seen this cycle of opposition leaders forgetting about reforms and making sure that there are free, fair, and credible elections, even when they get the chance to do so. ZANU-PF and Mnangagwa have exploited that weakness. We know that 2023 elections were flawed and illegitimate. SADC said so. But SADC could not go the extra step and deny ZANU-PF political legitimacy because the MDC leaders participated in those flawed elections. And even when SADC had said the election process was flawed, the SADC leaders still went ahead and took up their gravity seats out of greed. The fact that they'd conned millions of Zimbabweans to participate in those flawed elections made it even more difficult for SADC to turn around and say the election process was flawed. So we are stuck with this corrupt, incompetent, and tyrannical regime, ZANU-PF, because we have wasted many golden opportunities to end the dictatorship. And this is the price we pay for it. We continue to have a regime that is blatantly brutal and ruthless. The whites brutalized the blacks before independence. Now the blacks are turning on their own, their fellow blacks. And we need to address that fundamental problem. It's not going to go away. We need to end this cycle of yesterday's liberators becoming today's oppressors. And those whom we have entrusted the task of ending, once they get into a position where they can do something about it, they too become corrupted and become part of the corrupt and failed political system. If there is one thing that characterizes our failure to govern ourselves, is our failure to end this cycle of rigged elections and bad governance. It is within our power to end it, and we must end it. Thank you. Have a good day.